everyone, and welcome to our session, Modernizing Government Budgeting, Practical Approaches for a Complex Landscape. Hi, I'm Emily Jarvis, and I am the Senior Events Manager at GovLoop, and today I have the added pleasure of also being your moderator, so thanks so much for joining me. And a special thank you to our partners at UNA for helping us put on this session today. So let's get right to it, because government budgeting is getting harder, not easier, and finance teams are expected to connect long-term planning with annual appropriations, manage position-driven costs with greater precision, and deliver public-facing transparency that meets rising expectations from leadership and the public. At the same time, because apparently that wasn't enough, many agencies are consolidating around integrated platforms to reduce system sprawl and improve data consistency. And while those systems can play a critical role, general purpose budgeting models often weren't designed to support the fully complex budgeting process, leading teams to rely on manual workarounds that add risk and slow progress. Today, our experts will share how they're strengthening the way they plan, forecast, and communicate their budgets while working within their existing systems and environments. It is going to be a wonderful conversation. But before we get to that, we do have a few housekeeping items to go over. First things first, if you haven't already, take a look at that Resources Center. It's available for you on the console under that Resources button. That's where you can find a little bit more about our speakers and also a bunch of great learning opportunities. So make sure you check those out. If you want to access that closed captioning feature, just look for that Show Captions icon, and that's where you'll find that added accessibility. Of course, we hope you don't have any technical difficulties, but if you do, send us a message through that Q&A tab, and my colleague Maddie will get you all sorted out. And you can use that same tab to submit questions to our speakers, and we want your questions, so don't you dare be shy. Put your questions in early and often. You can also chat with your fellow Govies using that chat button along the bottom panel. You can tell us where you are logging in from. I am in very overcast Rockville, Maryland. I'd love to hear where you're logging in from. And finally, we are recording this training, so check your inboxes tomorrow because we'll email you a link so you can watch the entire session on demand. All right, with all of that housekeeping out of the way, I want to introduce you to our wonderful speakers. Joining us, we have, let me pull this up right now. Joining us, we have Andrea Brandon, who's the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Budget, Finance, Grants, and Acquisition at the U.S. Department of Interior. We also have Sanjay Gupta, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the state of Rhode Island. And his neighbor, we have Maureen Hassan, who's the Deputy Chief Technology Officer in the Executive Office of Technology Services and Security for the state of Massachusetts. And last but certainly not least, we have Marcy Turkington, who is the Manager for Professional Services at UNA Solutions. Thank you so much for being here with us today. All right, let's get things kicked off because this is a big conversation with a lot of impacts. So Marcy, I want to start with you. When you're looking at the current budgeting process end to end, where do you see some of these, I'm going to call them invisible risks, but any kind of barriers in the steps that could feel routine, but create the biggest exposure for errors, delays, or audit findings?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So what we see with a lot of the clients we speak to is it's kind of not the steps themselves. It's the things that start to feel routine. So, users or budget owners, as you're building your budgets, they're looking at old checklists of things to do. That's kind of a manual thing. Oh, first I go here, then I'm going to go there, then I'm going to go there. Or you start to see that different departments, different organizations are using, I'll call them rogue databases. You can call them shadow databases, whatever, but different people are following different processes. And then there's a lot of manual reconciliation that takes place. So it almost creates this cycle of distrust because people are doing things different ways and then they're not trusting the data necessarily because they have their own way of looking at the data, and it just kind of keeps feeding itself over and over again into this cycle. So I'd say that's one. That's a
I
big one.
hear. Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Maureen, from your perspective, where do you see some risks in the process and where do they tend to pop up most for you and your team? Oh, I think you're still on mute. Oh,
Sorry about that.
no worries. No worries.
Um, so thank you for that. And I would agree uh, right now with what Marcy just stated. And in addition to that, I think it is primarily those manual tasks have
Mhm.
to do with maintaining your own spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And there is obviously this issue of those spreadsheets go through email or versioning, even if you have a standardized collaboration platform that maintains all your documentation, folks going in and using the wrong spreadsheet and the reconciliation of all those manual processes. Obviously, that leads to a problem when at our fiscal year end, um, we have to actually close our budgets.
Mm,
And it is a very busy time for all of those agencies that are responsible for the budgeting and ensuring that all of the budgets that we have allocated um, really close out. Vendors get paid, maintenance for all of our systems are accounted for. And it's not just the finance team, it's the program teams as well, because they are the ones who are leveraging those platforms. They are the ones who the vendors are working for. And at any of these areas that Marcy already mentioned, um, I would say the it's the delay and lack of transparency that
mhm.
also causes the risk where we're not able to provide timely information. So that's all I would have to add.
It was a very worthwhile addition, and I think that communication and transparency piece is a critical element. All right, Andrea, you already have a super fan in the chat here, so I'm not sure if you've brought your entire team, but where do you see, Andrea, some of these inherent risks popping up or invisible risks popping up as you're going through your current budgeting process?
I definitely agree with my two panelists that have spoke earlier. In addition to, I will definitely say version control of the Excel spreadsheets is a major issue. In addition to that, I would say, I'll tell you a quick story where a couple of years ago, one of our other offices that's not budget, it's our CIO office, had decided to disable all the macros across the department for security purposes, but that impacted us because we use macros in our spreadsheets. So all of a sudden, all of our spreadsheets no longer worked. And so it was causing a glitch. And we actually didn't know because it was happening across the entire department. So if we were doing a data call to one of our bureaus and we were expecting an Excel spreadsheet from them, all of a sudden their macros didn't work. And then another bureau contacted me and their macros didn't work. And I think I was like the single point where I was the one hearing all of
Uh-huh.
these macro issues. And so I was like, wait a minute, something's not right. So I contacted OCIO and it turned out they had turned off the macros. So having a situation where we have more of a system where we don't need to use Excel spreadsheets or we don't need to rely on macros any longer would be very beneficial. Also, us needing to rely on the bureaus to send us data calls repetitively, constantly, um, and ensure that the data that they've input is accurate. Sometimes they send us multiple versions of their data because they find out themselves, oh, wait, we gave you the wrong version, or, we need to change a specific data element or so forth. So I think that these are inherent risks in the processes where you don't really have a system in place. We use SharePoint as well in DOI for our budgeting process. And again, having people be able to have access to the internal SharePoint site or which version of SharePoint are they using can become a problem and so forth. So definitely it's something that we need to look further into with regard to technology enhancements across the board for the budgeting process.
Yeah.
And if I
Yeah.
can just add to that,
Sure.
just one more point, it also, I think there's operational risk that increases significantly when we have institutional knowledge that solely rests with one or two people. And they are many times the bottleneck instead of having standardized enterprise processes.
Yep.
To add that transparency. So everything that Andrea just said does resonate because I've been with the Commonwealth for over 26 years with multiple agencies, and it's common across.
Yeah. All right, Sanjay, you have I'm going to call it near impossible mission of following these three ladies. But where, if anywhere, do you see any additional kind of pain points and risks pop up as you're looking at your budgeting process from end to end?
Yeah, and a good start to the conversation as well. And my colleagues have made a really good insights into their experiences. I want to start with two foundational principles in relation to budgeting at large, right? And these across my experience, both private and public sector apply. First and foremost, budget goals must be met. What does that mean? It means you don't want to be over budget and you do not want to be under budget, because it creates a huge problem for your organization, which leads to my second foundational principle. You know what the chief financial officers do not like? A variance. So what does that mean? Your budget is your plan, and your actuals are what your actuals are. So if you want to be friendly with your chief financial officer, which I hope you all are, or at least strive to be, you want to make sure that you're not giving your CFO a variance. So those are two foundational principles, and I'll kind of talk about the two risk areas which go line in line with this. Is that, yeah, sometimes you hear, CFOs saying, okay, and I won't go into a lot of the complexities of appropriations and appropriation categories. So yes, one can say I was underspent in this category. So yes, it gives my CFO a little more flexibility now to sort of move funds around, but there's obviously, depending on which organization you're part of, federal government, state government, local government, there are different appropriations categories under which those funds are appropriated, and you don't really have often a lot of flexibility in moving those funds around, right? So just be careful about that. So the two risk areas I would say is really goes line in line with this is tracking your actual spend to your planned spend, which is another way of saying variances, right? You end up with variances because you do not have good line of sight into it. We talked about it, my colleagues talked about it. If it's in a spreadsheet, it's somewhere on a SharePoint version, or one person knows about that information, guess what? The chances are high that you may have a gap between what your plan is versus your actuals are. And again, let's be clear on the public sector side, the procurement processes are long and onerous, and sometimes predicting exactly where they land is also not easy. So the point is, track your actual spend to your planned spend or your budget, and you try and minimize that risk to the extent possible. Second, again, going in line with that is having a clear line of sight, and I'll talk the auditor perspective a bit here. Is they're looking for traceability, meaning where did you commit your funds to? What purchase orders, if you bought something, is associated with that spend? And can you show that you did actually receive the goods or the services or whatever that purchase order was, right? Sort of the end-to-end visibility into that, right? And oftentimes, quite frankly, even if you have spreadsheets or other kind of tools that were referenced earlier, the chances are very low that you have this end-to-end visibility available to you. And if you don't, then the chances are very high that you are inherently creating risks, which will probably be a little bit of an audit nightmare come auditing time. So those would be the two areas from my standpoint.
Mm-hmm. As someone who's married to an auditor, I feel this in my soul. He's auditing our day-to-day life, and I rarely meet his budget expectations. So I can understand that narrative that you're talking about there. All right. We got a great question in from one of our attendees. And Andrea, I'm going to start with you with this one. The question says, where do you start or how do you begin to shift from using outdated processes, perhaps things like the Excel sheets or maybe SharePoint? I'm not naming names. When modernizing government budgets, how do you know when it's time to go? And then a little bit of how you go.
So one of the things that we've done in the Department of the Interior is we go to look at innovation labs, to look at newer technology. So usually we spend a day in an innovation lab. We've gone to the SAP Innovation Lab. We've gone to the Microsoft Innovation Lab. We've gone to the MITRE Innovation Lab. We've gone to the CACI Innovation Lab. So we're not a respect of persons. We're going to go, if you invite us to your innovation lab, we're going to go look at your newer technology. We usually spend like a day there. The first half of the day is the vendor showing us what their innovation is. In particular, usually it's artificial intelligence. It has been bots in some instances. It has been a distributed ledger technology, et cetera. And then the second half of the day is us getting to play around with the new technology. So we brainstorm and create use cases for that particular line of business. So in the budget line of business, we've had our budget experts participating in these innovation labs and innovation days, and they look at their budget process and they say, hey, we can use this technology for this particular business process. And they actually work with the vendor right then and there on site to see how they can use AI for that particular budget process. So when we get back from the innovation lab, then they produce a use case for that budget process. And our budget operations are spread out across the bureau. So many times they'll talk to bureau members to see whether that use case seems applicable to them as well. And if the use case is good and everybody agrees on it, then we work with OCIO to develop a pilot for that particular use case. So it's kind of moving along in those on those processes as far as how do we get innovation in the budget process. We've had a few things that are in the hopper and for piloting. Of course, as you all know, the budget process, we're working at 3 budgets all at the same time, and there's a lot of very quick moving parts. And if we have like a government shutdown, then things kind of stop right there, and we have to pick up the pieces from that particular point. And then after the government reopens, then we pick up our regular processes again and move forward. So we're still kind of in the middle of catching up, if you will, because now we've got to do 2028 budget. But we do have use cases that are ready to go, and we're working on some pilots currently.
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack. And the politics of the whole budgeting process, we're not even going to get into all of that today, but it does definitely add quite the wrinkle to the situation. Marcy, when you're going out and you're meeting with your government partners and clients, where do you see signals from them that the budgeting process is ready for a modernization effort?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, one of the things is if you think about where time is spent in the budgeting process, right? So, I'm not saying do, a full cycle, although I am a big proponent of, occasionally like doing an audit of your processes to really see what's really happening, not the rules that are out there or the policies that people are supposed to follow, but truly with your budget owners, your subject matter experts kind of doing that review. But when you start to see signals like it's taking more time to reconcile or to validate data than to actually do the planning work, which is really what, budgeting is, right? It's there's a plan and now I'm going to kind of allocate resources and do some modeling to see different outcomes. So when more time is spent on that non-value add, I'll say, and more time is being spent on auditing and QA and double checking these things, I think that's a very clear signal. I think cycle time, things taking longer, is a big indicator as well. Agility is just, if you don't have the ability to be agile and look at different scenarios or look at different projections or look at different revenue models that you may want to do, that's another signal, because you got to get all these pieces coordinated and clean it up. But you know what, your board or your council is going to say, well, we want to see it under this way or this way. That's taking quite a long time, and they're not even waiting for you. They're starting to make decisions maybe without getting that information. I think that's another thing that we see at our clients, saying, we just can't get this information fast enough, quickly enough. We're not being able to be agile enough. And then the other thing, a couple of folks had mentioned the versioning of spreadsheets, which I just think is so funny. If you start to see things that are called budget version 247, MARC 2A.1, I think that's kind of a sign too that you're really, you kind of outgrown that process and you need some things to become more agile.
Yeah. Whenever I see version 9 or 10 come in my way, I'm like, oh no, we are headed for trouble here. So far, we've talked, about budget kind of as a holistic term. I want to focus a little bit on position-driven costs, the people of it all. And Maureen, from your perspective, what are you looking for, or how are you looking to improve the way you plan for things like vacancies, hiring timing? There's been on the federal side some attrition, salary actions. How and where do you see perhaps some areas for improvement? And do you struggle to get kind of precise in this area?
Yes, absolutely. So the Technology Secretariat, that is the secretariat that I am part of. It is the centralized technology secretariat that provides IT services across all of the executive departments and or any other independent institution that opts to leverage our services. To that end, we definitely set standards, policies, even standards across platforms. So since its formation back in 2016, modernization has been the key theme. And so this answer is really close to home because that is what we do. We recently made a decision to go to Workday to modernize our ERP solution. So that is our, of course, workforce management and HR management solution. And we also recently implemented a data warehousing solution that has standardized. It's Snowflake. So we are onboarding agencies to ensure that there is a consistent source of the data. Folks are not making multiple copies. They don't have their own processes in an effort to not just standardize, but also modernize. As far as our financial system, that is housed under a different organization, our comptroller's office. We also recently we replaced the legacy platform to CGI's Advantage 4 to, again, streamline and really add transparency across all of state government for payments that are being issued. So Massachusetts has really taken strides in ensuring that modernization is key. We are including transparency, and we are also doing our best to incorporate other platforms to have really real-time reporting to decision makers, managers. So our hiring practices and just workforce management and even recruiting are all streamlined. So it is an ongoing effort, and we are very busy, as you can imagine, there are a number of improvements that we are making and would continue to make, because we actually have our current vendors that we turn to for these innovation labs. Like Andrea said, we have a number of really good partners that is what they're tasked to do. And we do have these innovation days. And that is exactly what we do, just like what Andrea described. We also encourage all of our leadership and senior directors to be continuously researching for innovation opportunities, and then to bring those proof of concepts to leadership to possibly suggest a POC, or and also then get other agencies involved to participate in that. So we have been doing this for a few years now, and it is really turning out to prove good, successful results for us.
Well, that's great. And I know modernization isn't the end. It's a continuous evolution. But obviously you all have taken some pretty big steps over there in Massachusetts. Sanjay, from your perspective, how do you see those position-driven costs being reflected in the budget, and where do you all potentially still have some barriers or challenges to get that information out in an accurate way?
Yeah, and I think I'll build on to what Maureen mentioned there. So if you think about categories for budgets, staffing or personnel cost is by itself one of the very largest components in any budget line item, right? So this is obviously an important aspect of it. So from our perspective, our state also has moved to an enterprise solution, and we are trying to sort of make sure that it is helping us, do all the things that Maureen talked about. And we are in that sort of stage of, getting modern from that standpoint. But if I break staffing down, I think you were asking, I think, Emily, about, forecasting, hiring, salary action, vacancy planning, and those kind of things. So if you can do a comparison around those salary actions, let's say promotions or grade increases or so and so forth, those are probably the easiest from a modeling standpoint and forecasting standpoint, right? And I'll do a comparison just here in a minute. On the other end of the spectrum is hiring. Hiring is one of those things which is very difficult to forecast, very difficult to model in terms of the timing, in terms of where it might land at. So what I'm kind of giving a perspective on is the solutions that allow you to do modeling and allow you to do scenarios in those modeling. Those are the kind of solutions that would be really beneficial in this domain for budgeting, right? The more scenarios you can build, the more sort of forecastings you can build into it. And yes, hiring has a lot of variables, and you can't control all of those variables. But the solution that I'm thinking about are the ones which give you the ability to model and forecast and look at alternative scenarios and figure out what would be the most likely scenario. And over a period of time, you kind of, build some intelligence into it. So that would be some areas that I would focus on.
Yeah. Feel free to model me a promotion or a raise. That would be wonderful. I'm open to that possibility.
I think your manager already received that recommendation from my office.
Great.
So hopefully that should be in the works here, except it might be the checks in the mail model.
I'll stay close by. I'll stay close by my mailbox. Andrea, were you going to add something? Oh, nope.
Yeah, I was just going to say also, as you're doing your scenarios, we like to look at also whether we can put bots in place for repetitive processes so that we can determine, do we still need people to do certain aspects of the process? Also, with the advent of agentic AI, where we can actually assign roles to the agentic AI, we're looking at different roles and functions and competencies and skill sets that we can train an agentic AI to do. And that also may help us to reduce some of the workforce, the human workforce, because we're still going to have workforce. They're agentic, but definitely when we're looking at vacancies and where we might want to hire or where we might want to put a bot or an agentic AI in place. That's also very helpful as we look at the whole picture, the
Right.
entirety of the picture.
Makes sense. All right, we are rapidly going through today's training. So we're going to do the next couple rounds of questions to our panelists in a rapid fire format. And Marcy, I'm going to start with you. Maureen was talking about the modernization process that they are going through and kind of bringing in new platforms to help along the way. I think many agencies are standardizing on some of these integrated platforms to help reduce, system sprawl where you've got 55 different legacy systems playing a part. Where do you see consolidation perhaps helping budgeting, and where have you seen it exposed gaps that still need to be solved outside of some of these new systems that are coming into place?
Sorry, I forgot to mute myself there. Thanks. Yeah, so I guess where we see kind of the big wins for our customers are there truly is a single source of truth for actuals. So if I can have GL and AP and HRIS, and then maybe compensation systems, because we're all speaking the same language and talking to each other. So that is a huge benefit for organizations that do go kind of the single platform ERP route. There is a better ability for folks to be able to do, I'll call it rear view, and I don't want that to sound too negative. I think it's really important to do variance analysis. I know, Sanjay, if there's any variance, you're going to say there just shouldn't be, but it happens, right? And the ability to do that and to highlight those things sooner. I used to work for someone who had a great phrase that bad news is not like fine wine. It doesn't get better with age. So when you see those things kind of real time, it really helps the ability for organizations to better manage the resources and kind of pull around. So I see that. I think there's a much cleaner audit trail. If you think about it, there used to be these disparate systems, and I have to kind of look at this first, then look at this and look at that. So that is a huge help as well. And then there's reduced reconciliation just as a natural consequence, because you don't really have to reconcile, right? It's kind of all talking to each other if it's done right. Where I think that they are not able to do as much related to the planning process is ERP systems are built for transaction recording. First and foremost, I'd say, it's truly to not do the planning. So if you're thinking about doing strategic planning, or you do service-based budgeting, or you're doing initiative planning or program, these things are often multi-year. So you need the ability to track and to plan and to project and to model various scenarios. So that is typically you're not going to find that in an ERP system because it's built for a different purpose, basically. Gotcha. I would say projections, having the ability to project. So there's the variance reporting, what's happened in the past, and then there's taking that and saying, okay, what is my future going to look like, right? So based on what's happened to date. So the ability to have a system that can use different algorithms or use different models, the way that you really and truly do your forecasting. I think that is a kind of a separate, that's typically not, there's still a gap in an ERP system. And then this, in general, scenario planning, whether regardless of the budgeting methodology that you have. Sanjay, you had mentioned earlier, that ability to say, okay, well, I want to plan for this type of workforce or these type of workers, or Andrea, when you talked about, we're going to have bots now. So what does that do to our overall workforce? Are we going to shift people? How do we plan that out and have those different scenarios to look at that? That is typically not going to be found. There's still going to be a gap there. And then finally, the ability to have, I'd say, stakeholder feedback. I have found, it seems like it's rare, the clients that we work with, that they have all their department heads typically going in. They may be looking at variance analysis, but are they doing any projections? Where would they do those kinds of things? Typically, they're going to do them outside of the system. And then you run the risk that we talked about at the start, which is people start using spreadsheets to do their planning or to do their variance analysis and to do their projections on where they're going to end up at the end of the year or at the end of a cycle. So I think that that's another gap that would be isn't being met by those ERP systems.
Gotcha. Marion, I want to give you a chance to add on to anything that Marcy just said here. And then I'd also like to tack on a question around this idea of transparency, because I know this was something you brought up earlier. And we know transparency is essential. It's also a rising expectation, leaders, oversight, the public. So with these systems and with the budgeting information, where do you see potentially some wins and some challenges, and where does that transparency piece fit into the mix?
Yes, thank you. So I think having a centralized enterprise analytics platform is key. It goes back to that single source of truth. It also enables cross-system reporting, encourages different organizations who typically have more of a territorial mindset across their data to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps with everything that Marcy said. So I think the transparency is just where we are today with the evolution of technology and such vast, enormous information being available to us on our cell phones. I mean, we're carrying mega computers in our hands, and we are used to immediate results, immediate information. So I don't think that's a high standard for public sector to also provide. And I think it's just meeting that expectation. So whether we like it or not, it's there. And it does require us to step up and enable that information for not just our stakeholders, but for the public.
Yeah.
And we partner with other agencies to ensure that state spending, it is available through our mass.gov. We update that, and we have taken measures to ensure that as much as we can with the capabilities we have today, we do provide that transparency. Once we have Workday fully implemented and integrated with Snowflake, we also have other products that we use, other platforms to provide possibly, just visual reporting, which is also key. Giving folks who need to make decisions, who need to do reporting, because sometimes they're very tight deadlines that we have to meet. So if you have some concise way of viewing the data, and then the ability to drill down, I think is key. So that is all that I think I would like to add.
It was a good ad. It was a good ad. So I appreciate that. All right, Andrea, as you're doing these innovations stop by, which honestly sound like field days for technologists, which is adorable. You're looking for a purpose-built tool, or you're perhaps considering one. What are your decisions looking at? Is it speed, accuracy, audit trails, reporting, better collaboration, all the above, none of the above? What kind of attributes are you really unwilling to compromise on when you're looking for a new system?
I think first off, definitely accuracy. We are looking to enhance accuracy, especially for, as Sanjay mentioned, audit purposes, because we are pretty much audited for the majority of the fiscal year for our financial statements audit and a little bit of our internal controls. So definitely we're looking for accuracy. We're then looking for reporting, because as I stated, we're like doing data calls out, data calls out, data calls out. So it will be really nice not to have to do all those massive data calls any longer, where everybody is reporting their information, or they're actually doing their business in a department-wide way so that the data is already available to us. We don't have to do data calls any longer. And then, of course, efficiency and expediency is definitely a plus, right? So if we are getting a system that can allow us to do our work faster, like such as a bot,
Hmm.
because they move hugely fast, then that's even a plus. That's like ice cream on the cake, you know? So definitely we're looking for accuracy, we're looking for auditing, reporting, and then efficiency and expediency. So I think that, and if you roll all of that up together, we have the perfect system, we're going to have transparency as well.
Yeah.
So, but definitely, yes, we're looking for accuracy, number one.
Makes a whole lot of sense. All right, Sanjay, we have talked about a lot of things so far on today's training, and I'm curious on your perspective for folks who are listening to this session today and they want to reduce the amount of workarounds that people are doing, version control 345. What are some practical or tactical moves that can really deliver results in, let's say, 60, 90, 120 days? And so a short-term win for me, and then maybe a change that could take a little bit longer, but could pay off in the long run. So it's a double parter for you today.
Of course. Yeah. I'll try and see if I can stitch together the thoughts from my other colleagues earlier as well, right? So the common theme is trying to get to a single version of the truth, right?
Yeah.
And you don't achieve that by having multiple systems. You want a singular system. So whether it's an ERP system or other bolt-on tools, and I think Marcy made a very important observation earlier, like ERP systems are more transactionally focused. They're less around scenario modeling and creating forecastings and those things. They have some capabilities inherently, but they're not necessarily that's their strong point, right? So you probably need to look for some solution that allow you to do that work in addition to collecting the transactional data, right? You heard a common theme that we all heard was accuracy, right? Okay, you may have a singular system, but if the information is not accurate, then that
Right.
causes other unintended consequences. Stakeholders and key decision makers, as somebody very pointedly pointed out, you want it on your fingertips, literal fingertips, meaning
Hmm.
access through a device which you hold in your hand, not put in your desk. So what does that mean? That means the information is available near real time. That means
Hmm.
you're tracking your plan versus actual, and all of that information boils up or boils down, or rolls up or drills down in a manner where the decision maker, they can look at it. So some of these things, how do you achieve those, is by getting processes in place first. Tools are no good if you don't have a good robust process. If you have a good robust process in place, if you find the right tool or tools or solutions, you can make that do that. Conversely, if you do not have a good process defined, whatever tools you choose, it's still not going to do the magic for you. So having a process is something you can do both short term and long term, meaning if you define your process, how you're managing your spend, how you're tracking your actuals, how you're doing roll up views, how you're providing the different analytics, that's a worthwhile investment, both short term and long term, right? The two last things I'll just kind of wrap up with you, and I really rapid fire here, is what executives are looking for: year over year change. Give me what's the metric which shows what's the year over change in my budget at the topmost level, at a line item level, and tell me what that change it relates to. Is that in relation to my strategic objectives? Does it allow me to meet the goals that I meant? Is it going up in the right direction, or is it going down in the right direction, right? Which leads to the second point is, in public sector, none of us can get away without cost savings and cost avoidance. That's part and parcel of it. You are continuously monitoring, you're continuously tracking, you're continuously acting on that, and you're reporting on that. And if
Hmm.
you're not, I think I don't want to go there. So those are the two metrics. Again, you have to be able to have at a moment's notice available to share with the executives and your decision makers. This is what it looks like, and this is where we're trending.
Wonderful. All right, I have a final two-part question for each one of you. And Maureen, I'm going to start with you for first here. The question is, we're peering into the future here, and I think all of you at one time or another have mentioned the elephant in the room, which is AI, the AI of it all. So looking forward, where do you see AI playing a role in the budgeting process, or where is it already that you think it's going to grow into? And then part two of this question is we have talked about a lot on today's trading, and I like to give our audience a takeaway to walk away with. So if you could impart one piece of wisdom or a final thought for our audience, what would it be? And Mayrina, we're going to start with you here.
Sure, thank you. So, yes, AI at this point, whether we like it or not,
Yeah.
is here. It's here to stay. And I think it is going to assist really well in anomaly detection, fraud detection, trend analysis, using these chatbots, provided we have invested enough time and effort into finding the right tool that can be integrated, provided it meets all the security standards we have, because as you introduced me, security is in the name of our secretariat, and anytime we evaluate anything, that is our first and foremost concern. And we have to ensure that security is there and all those standards are being met. And of course, providing timely, accurate everything that Sanjay and Andrea said earlier, and Marcy, is executive reporting. And I think AI is going to truly help the workforce. Now, I want to say this very clearly. Within our Commonwealth as an enterprise, we do not expect and we do not plan for any jobs to go away. That is not our goal. It has never been. It is really to help the workforce have an assistant. And that is what we just this year, a few months ago, announced the rollout of a virtual assistant. It's an AI assistant to assist the entire workforce to do possibly some repetitive tasks that really they spend a lot of time doing. So we are actually putting that into motion for the entire workforce to test out, to see how is it going to help them. Even if it's something so simple as, okay, I need to write an email and I'm not sure how to do this. Training our workforce, and training is one thing I think we didn't mention earlier, is really important, to train the workforce to then use the AI technology responsibly. And I think, again, that's just the short term. I think it can benefit our workforce, public sector, even private, really well. So with respect to the last part, what would I say to everybody who is listening? I would really, I would encourage folks. I know change is very difficult and it is hard to process sometimes, because when we implement change, people are, the workforce, they are very comfortable in the world that they know, and they take pride in that. At any point, management recommends any changes, whether it's to processes or even technology, they take it personally. So what I would ask folks to walk away with is change is a good thing. There are options available, any growth opportunity, and as everybody I'm sure can relate to, what you were at the age of, let's say, again, I don't know what the age bracket is out there, but if when you were 9 years old versus where you are today, or for some of our older folks, not old folks, we know a lot more today than we did when we were in our early 20s. So, and what have we done? We have evolved, we've adopted to change, and just be open to that, and not be afraid of it. That's really what I would say.
I love that. All right. We're not gonna for sure question the wisdom of 19-year-old Emily because she was a different breed. So I am right there with you. All right, Andrea, give me peering into the future here. What do you expect to see evolve in kind of the budgeting world? And what's your takeaway?
I definitely see us moving forward with artificial intelligence. We have several mandates from our president to move forward with that. I see the realm of agentic AI being something very beneficial to
Mhm.
us, where we can assign different roles throughout the budget process to the agentic. They can work as the agentic AI can work as a team. In addition to that, we can assign and train up the roles in financial management and grants management, contract management, and they can all work together. The budget agentic AI with the grant agentic AI with the contract with the financial management as an integrated project team to actually enhance some of the business processes and to provide the accuracy and the speed, the efficiency, and the auditing protocols. But as Maureen, I see that we need to be careful with AI because it can hallucinate, right? So an AI is only as good as what we train it to do. And so if we train it with our biases, we're not looking out for that, then the AI is going to give us back that same kind of information. It's going to give us biased information or incorrect information. So definitely ensuring that we do appropriate pilots and we have the appropriate subject matter expert teams that are helping to train the agentic AI is going to be very beneficial. And so I think that's definitely the future of where we're moving. But as far as what word of advice would I say? I
Mhm.
would say the future is ours to build. It's ours to go forward. And I'm sure, as we move into quantum computing and other innovative technologies, this is not the end. And let's do it. Let's move forward and let's put our heads together. And I mean, there's always needs to be the human in the loop. And I agree. You probably heard me in um, on other presentations say that some decisions need to be inherently human. So that I believe we should decide those up front. What types of decisions will we not give to an AI? But the future is ours to build. Let's go for it. And we're look at what we've built so far. Let's do it.
I love that. I feel like I'm joining the Andrea army or something, where we're signing
Oh my
up.
God.
But I'm in. I'm in. All right, Sanjay, give me your prediction for the future and what you want the audience to take away today.
Yeah. So first off, there's two different aspects of AI I'll talk about. First, very quickly, in your own budgets, estimate the cost of AI use in your organization.
Mm.
For your budgeting folks, make sure you're forecasting that what you will be doing and what you'll be spending on that, right? The second is on the application of AI in the budgeting process, right? So there are two different areas that we're talking about now, right?
Mm.
So I see or anticipate that, AI will be helpful in analyzing our current budgets, future budgets, forecast, analysis around it. It'll be useful for identifying risks in our budgets across multiple, domains, across years. I would also see that it will be helpful in generating narratives. Budgets by themselves are very dry, numbers and a whole lot of numbers. It's hard to sort of put your head around the numbers, and you need good narratives to explain what those numbers mean, what do they imply, and what do they, convey to you. So I would say, that's another use case where AI is being used. Obviously, it's not in a decision mode, and then kind of back to Andrea's world. And you can be doing other work in terms of whether you are just keeping your actuals and budget actual plans in place and so on and so forth. Takeaway, I would say be bold, be deliberate in budgeting to drive improvements. It is a vital piece of what we do, and especially in the public sector. If you ignore budgeting, it's through your own peril.
Mhm. All right, we've got two strong statements here that we're closing things out with. We're getting together and we're embracing that change that Maureen was talking about. All right, Marcy, you get to have our final word here. Peer into the future for me and give me your takeaway.
I love what everybody already said, and I think I'll build on that. One of the things that I think is gonna just kind of naturally happen is that AI is going to become more meaningful and more stakeholder specific
Mm,
and almost conversational. And so I'll go back to what I think it was Sanjay, you said something about the narratives, right? But make it matter for me, right? Me as a stakeholder, me as a council member, me as a budget director, me as a constituent, right?
mhm.
So I have that ability to better understand where my dollars are going, the fiduciary responsibility of the budget builders, and then being able to share with the people that are going to benefit from this why it matters, where money is going, and help me to better understand that. I think some of the things like variance anomaly detection, those kinds of things I think we're there already. Those things
Yeah.
and the patterns can already be analyzed. It's kind of taking it to that next perspective of the stakeholder and making it meaningful there, as well as the ability to model for risk for very fast changes that are happening, to be included in kind of scenario building and the what's going to happen. I don't think of AI, I don't think of people ever going away. I love the take that Andrea shared, which is kind of, the humans are always going to be there, but now they can kind of raise their level of what they're working on, the value add they're working on. I like to think of it more as an assistant. You've got this great assistant that can do things faster. You would have done them, right? But it's gonna happen faster. So that opens up the possibilities and the capabilities for the human that's using that AI or AI in the process. Takeaways, I would say, technology is just, shouldn't say this, I work for a technology company, but it really is just the enabler. If you can truly look at your processes, your existing processes, and where you want to go with an open mind, that technology is going to open up the possibilities for you to do that. I love what Maureen said about change. I'm a huge part of the work that we can do is helping clients to then adopt. I mean, there's configuring the software, but the real piece is how do you get your users to truly adopt it, or your constituents to want to really kind of go and look at these transparency portals that you've built. And in that regard, I would say for change to really happen and for adoption to really happen, you have to make it make sense. You
Mm,
have to make it matter, and you have to make it matter and be meaningful, but you also have to make it easy for
mm.
me to do. Whether I am the person who is building the budget, I'm the analyst that is doing scenario building, or I am the constituent that wants to learn about the budgets.
I think these are four wise perspectives to end us on today. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I do want to draw our audience attention to the slide we have up right now. Our partners over at UNA are looking for some survey responses. So if you're interested and available, feel free to fill that out. But I want to thank our four wonderful speakers for sharing their insights with us today. Just a few quick reminders before everyone logs off. First things first, there are some resources available for you on the console. So if you haven't checked them out, please do so. There's lots of great extra learning opportunities over there. We'll also be sending you a link to the on-demand version of this training tomorrow. So look for that in your inboxes. But on behalf of GovLoop and UNA, I hope you enjoyed today's session. And as always, we really appreciate and value the work that you do. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at our next training. Bye.
All right.